What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the LA Soccer Hub Show. My name is Gio Garcia. Today's Tuesday, November 9th. We're talking LAFC. This is probably going to be the last LAFC, the last Black and Gold podcast for a couple weeks. The players are on vacation. I got to take a vacation. It's been long. It's been a tough season. It's been a roller coaster of a season. It finally ended, but let me introduce my guests. We got two season ticket holders here. We got Katie, who's a supporter, and we also got Eric. Katie, how you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I am very excited to be here today.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have you on the show, Katie. Eric, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. What do you got back there? What's your setup over here? Let's zoom in on your setup. What do you got back over there?
This is my living room. This is see, everything's backward in the camera. It's my scarf rack. I got my scarves. A shout out to the 42 Originals. I got my Carson is not LA shirt. We made that ourselves. The back of the shirt says Vela 316. My buddy and we homemade those for the first El Trafico, and we made like 5 or 6. And pretty much every El Trafico, we bring like now 10 to 15, and we give them out to friends. And we got a pretty good. There's probably about 40 or 50 of those T-shirts now floating around amongst the fan base for El Trafico.
I've seen them around.
Yeah,
all right.
They're definitely popular, and they definitely catches the eye of the Galaxy fans. I can tell you that. Katie, let me ask you, how long have you been a supporter of LAFC?
I have been a supporter since day one. Well, prior to day one, before the stadium was ever built, before there was ever any team put together. I joined out here in San Diego. I heard about it through a friend that now works for LAFC. He actually started with the team back in 2016. And so the day one, I was there in the stands, and I fell in love and have been diehard ever since.
That's awesome. That's what we love to hear. Eric, how long have you been a supporter of the club?
Pretty much, yeah. Day one, I think I got in the season ticket waiting list back in 2015, and one of the earlier people on it. I was not really much of an MLS fan. I'd been to like 3 professional soccer games. I was not growing up. I was a big NFL fan. I'm like one of those other football guys that fell in love with soccer, and just got on the list. I went to the very first game. I was thinking at the time like, prices aren't too bad. It's not like going to, Dodgers or the Rams or anything like that. So I got in there, and the atmosphere, I fell in love with it day one. And I've since then I've missed 3 home games ever.
Hey, look, that's what we like to hear.
Open Cup, all competitions.
It's like hey man, I love it. Once you find a team that's the amazing thing about the MLS now, that you said you came from American football, right? The NFL, to now finding your soccer team or your football club. And I think it's an amazing thing, because obviously the sport is growing here in the country. It's definitely going in LA, right? We have 2 teams, but that's what we like to see. And that's for me, that was honestly part of starting LA Soccer Hub and being focused on, obviously both teams, and trying to find a way how I could be part of this. And this is what I like. JP, you're here. How you doing, my brother?
I'm good. Just glad I can make it. Old computers act up sometimes, so just glad to be here.
You gotta pay, bro. I've been telling you, you gotta pay that Wi-Fi bill.
I gotta work a bit harder.
Like you gotta talk to the boss at LA Soccer Hub. You gotta
I do. I have a business meeting.
Yeah. But look, guys. Obviously, look. If we're gonna be honest, it was not the type of season anybody expected from LAFC, right? Obviously, it was way below what any of us thought. The final game, we don't even need to talk about the game. It is what it is, 5-2, right? It doesn't we don't need to address what happened in the game.
The game illustrate, like, if you could encapsulate our entire season into one game, it was the game against Colorado. Like that, that's the year tied up into one game.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because, right, you needed to win and you needed a bunch of other things about that. So we don't really need to talk about that. Obviously, I think it is unfortunate part that they LAFC missed the playoffs. But I think one thing I will say, to me, it was like the first time that I saw LAFC not really have a fight in the game, which was, I think, was just that part. I think obviously that game, after the 2 goals went in and everything like that, you really didn't see the fight. And I know seeing from what I saw some fans obviously on Twitter and stuff, it's unfortunate, but hopefully this is a wake-up call to everybody in the LAFC organization that, you can't have another season like this. We got to talk about Mark Anthony Kaye. He posted the poetic justice which is kind of funny, interesting. I think he's still very upset at the club. Um, JP, I'm gonna ask you, what were your thoughts about that? Because I know look, to be fair, Mark Anthony K did get a lot of flack from LAFC fans. But I think this is his way to, whether he's mad at the organizations, but he's fighting with LAFC fans, which I just don't think that's a smart thing to do.
I think he's part of the bad poetry, that plagued LAFC season. I mean, he cost us 2 games, and 2 games would have put us in the playoffs. So I don't really understand who he's really trying to get at, if it's the fans or the front office. But, at least personally, I just clamored for him to not play 90 minutes. I just didn't think he was a 90-minute guy, and he still isn't a 90-minute guy. In Colorado, they take him out at the 70th, and then he doesn't cause those late game mistakes. So ultimately, he's part of the bad poetry that played LAFC season. He was here for the majority of it. So I don't know if he doesn't, he's not innocent of this. So I think it was just a bit unprofessional and just not necessary, because he cost us points. So he technically, in a way, affected us and put us in this position at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. Eric, what were your thoughts on that?
I thought it was pretty classless, honestly. Like, look at Mark Anthony K, free transfer to Louisville from Toronto 2, Toronto 2. They saw nothing in him worth keeping. They let him go to Louisville on a free transfer. We find him, we pick him up from USL. Really, really, he does a great job. I mean, my very first jersey was either Simon or K, and Simon put in the kick. Otherwise, K was my first favorite player who I thought was a grinder guy. So I'm coming at this from a guy who was a huge K fan,
Yep.
And so, he comes up, somebody from our organization sees something in him, they develop him, he turns into a great player. He was never a superstar for us, but when he was gone, we really, really missed him, but his soccer career was built on somebody from our organization finding him and bringing him up, and then kind of to leave, to have that and kind of throw that at it is kind of classless, like business is business. Everybody should recognize that in sports, and that's, I think it was unnecessary. And what has he done at Colorado? 1 goal, 1 assist. That's it.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the stats, but I think you hit on a lot of great points there. He built his career with LAFC, and I also know Mark Anthony K to the best. I could potentially know him and got to know him in those 4 years. He did work his butt off. He did work his butt off, and I think it was definitely something that he benefited off of LAFC. LAFC definitely benefited of him. But I think, to me, whatever happened with the front office, not to say goodbye, I think that's what potentially upset a lot of the fans, regardless of his turnovers or anything.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, $1 million Garber bucks is a really great value for him. And 2018, I blamed us losing to Real Salt Lake on K breaking his ankle in the Galaxy and our kind of poor stretch through the end. And then he pulled his hamstring playing for Canada, and that really cost us into 2019, losing him as well. So I mean, he was a crucial player, but 2020 he wasn't the player that. He wasn't as crucial to our team as he used to be, and less so. So, it was all how it was.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Katie, quickly, what are your thoughts?
I was just going to say, 2021, everything fell to shit. Sorry to say, but Kay was no different. He did a great job for the first couple of years. I was very happy to have him on the team. I think everyone was happy to have him on the team. He provided the height we needed in the midfield that, we lack now, except with fall coming up. He did a great job, and I think him leaving and how the fans treated him was a darn shame. I know people are mad, but again, you just said it is business, and he's a soccer player, and he's going to move on, and that's fine. Let's let him move on and just leave him alone at this point. I think their team deserved to win, and if he wanted to do a little middle finger to us, that's fine. Whatever. Who cares? We got something from him we needed, and now he went to a team that hopefully will pay him what he wants and move on.
Yeah, I honestly, I think for Kay, whether initially it probably didn't look like a better situation, it's turned out to be a great situation for Kay. Obviously, the number 1 team in the West, things have been working out for him. I'm just surprised he still tries to jab at LAFC. I'm just surprised at that, because you're doing better than them. You know what I'm saying? No need. That's just my thoughts. But nevertheless, obviously, he's moved on. LFC's moved on. What happens on social media? It's social media. It's not a real thing. Um, let's talk about Carlos Vela. Because Carlos Vela, obviously, he came in the 31st minute, 30th minute of the game. It was kind of odd. These first half subs. I mean, to me too. I'll be honest. If you come in the 30th minute of the game, play him the whole game. That's just my thought. And also makes me wonder why he didn't play the second half of the Vancouver game. If he could have played, almost 60 minutes or whatever it was. But yeah, JP, what are your thoughts on Carlos Vela? We don't need to talk about the last game, but what are your thoughts on Carlos Vela? Because he said he likes to come back, but I'm paraphrasing here. He said it has to be mutual, right? So that I'm assuming that the organization, the front office, is still contemplating that decision. What are your thoughts on Carlos Vela this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, he says that, but then he also says, I want to win an MLS Cup with LAFC. So everything just, the majority of his statements, imply that he's staying. I think he's going to stay. I don't see him going anywhere other than Australia. I don't think he would play anywhere else in the MLS. He's going to stay. It's just that simple. I mean, he's trying to recruit Griezmann. He's not going to recruit Griezmann to not play with Griezmann here. He's not going to say, come Griezmann and I'll leave. He's trying to be buddies with him, have another friend here in LA, have another family for his kids to play with and everything. So he's staying. It's just, is he going to be healthy the next season? How many games is he going to miss because he's injury prone and he's older? What's the impact going to be? Because we didn't see any impact this season, So it's a whole season where he wasn't as impactful as his MVP season or as, the COVID year, which, always has an asterisk with everybody. So what Carlos Vela are we going to get? Because he's most likely going to stay. The fans, obviously love him. I was there when he went in the first time. The pop was great. So there isn't, animosity from the fans' point of view. It's just the fans are just also questioning what type of Carlos Vela are we going to get next season.
Yeah, fair enough point. I think, hearing these things because, in the beginning of the summer, we don't know exactly where he stands. I know a lot of people question his commitment and everything. Regardless of what the little rift that happened in the summer, I think he's still a great player, but I'm with you. I think the health is the risk. And we know that the 6 point whatever he's getting paid doesn't necessarily affect the salary. But I know a lot of fans have an issue about how much he's getting paid and all these different things. Eric, what are your thoughts on Carlos Vela? Would you like to have Carlos Vela back?
I think the team is going to be a better team with somebody other than Carlos Vela on the squad. And one is because of the DP rules. There's the U22 DP rule, which I think we really have to use to be competitive, whether that's going to be Rossi, who's on a loan and technically not an open slot, Rodriguez, who I think we need to keep, or Vela. Vela's injury history the last couple of years, it's not a safe bet to say he's going to be healthy next year. We should roll the dice with him, the other side of it is Vela's a huge draw to the stadium, which is kind of the paradox of MLS. Vela brings a lot of people to stands. You guys saw it the last games. When he came out, everybody went crazy. When Vela shows up to play, more people are in the stands than were in there otherwise, But, if Vela is injured 50% of next season, what does that do to the club? One of the big problems that a lot of people talked about is we had a lot of games with 0 or only 1 DP in it, So, is that where we want to go with that? And on top of it, number one, I feel the U22, we need to get rid of a DP, fill it with 3 young DPs, and then backfill it with some different veterans, but it's off subject.
Yeah, I think you can still have the U22 DPs. You can still have that with the 3 DPs because Galaxy have done it this season. So that doesn't necessarily affect. Even if they use the U22 DPs, they can still have the 3 DPs. I know we're getting too technical and stuff, but I just wanted because that's a great statement. But you can still use the 3 DPs. But you make a great point though. You don't want to have Carlos Vela 50% of the season because look at this season. Sometimes it's like which DPs are going to be available, and obviously we finished the season without obviously Diego Rossi because he's on loan, right? So essentially, you only had 2 DPs for the season. But if you want to be competitive, you definitely want to have those 3 DPs. Katie, what are your thoughts? How do you feel about Carlos Vela?
I have gone back and forth with the Vela conversation in my head. When I heard he might leave, when he said that at the All-Star game, I kind of interpreted that way. I was like, oh my God, no way, he cannot leave. We need him because he's been, he's been the glue. He's been everything for our team for the first 2 years. But you go into 2020 and you go into 2021 and you got him 30% of the time. And then once he does go back, oh my God, is he going to get hurt this game again? And is he actually in the mindset that he's actually going to play 100%? I need every player on that field to be putting in their 100%. Otherwise, I don't really want them on the field. And so if we have a glass DP like Vela, that's concerning to me because it does fill that huge spot. Who's going to come in and take that, like fill those shoes? I'm not sure. I don't think Griezmann's going to come. Who could pay 2 of their salaries? Number one, but I do worry about that. Although I have a love for Vela because I do think he's the most talented in the MLS when he is healthy. He's glorious to watch on the field when he's healthy. So I do hope if he does come back, great. I hope it's not for a long contract. And let's go from there. I think he is coming back though. That's what I feel I'm getting from everybody.
Yeah, and the one thing to say too is it's a club option, so it would only be 1 year. So unless they agree to more terms, but it would only be 1 year, and then you can see what happens with the 1 year with Vela. But yeah, look, to me the biggest thing is obviously his health, and also not just his health, but mentally if he's there. Like he's talked about it early this year, right? That he wanted to win the MLS Cup, but then when he started getting injured and stuff like that, when he wasn't talking about LAFC or the posts of his wife at Malibu and all these different things, I think that is the concerning part for me because um you want your superstar, no matter whatever, if they're injured or whatever, to still be about the team. You don't need to be at every game, but El Tráfico I think is an important game. There's certain games that your face needs to be shown around there and needs to be committed to the team. And you need to. I know you're not that big on social media, but hey, if we saw what Brian Rodriguez did this year, right? We're going to talk about Brian Rodriguez. When he first came back from America, we weren't sure about him. Now we know he's committed to the team. He's doing everything. He's posting about the team. I think Carlos Vela could have done that this season, regardless of what happened with him in the front office and the little rift that we assume happened there. But I think you need to have a committed Carlos Vela if you're gonna have him back next year, because a committed Carlos Vela, obviously the health is a concern, and it'll be 1 more year. So it's a tricky thing, but I think 1 more year wouldn't be bad. But if he's not committed and he acts the same way he did this year, then I think it wouldn't be a good thing for LAFC.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Katie. Go.
I just was going to say the couple times that I've seen him on the field with Chicho, and I mean, this is a different part of the conversation, but Chicho's amazing and I love him. And I'm so glad, thank God he came to our team. But when I've seen him with Vela, you think, oh my God, I'm going to witness something amazing. I feel like Chicho kind of like goes to the background and he's not himself anymore. He's not that dynamic player that's going to be putting in the balls in left and right in the back of the goal. And they defer to Vela. And that kind of scares me with the season coming up. Maybe during the off season, they'll work together and learn how to work off of each other and make that magic. But so far I hadn't seen it. And that does concern me for the year ahead.
Yeah, great point on that, because you haven't seen and also they haven't had the amount of games that I think you would want to see. But that is a concerning point, Eric.
Yeah. I mean, mine was a completely different direction. It was just, to me, I think one of the biggest things LAFC is known for now is how passionate its fans are. When people talk about LAFC, well, the first thing comes up is the fans and the passion they have. So we have all this passion in the stands, and a lot of these games, you don't see the same passion on the pitch with the players. And I think that's a mismatch right now. And I think that's something that on the field needs to be brought into closer alignment with the fans. We have a team that really wants it like the fans do. I mean, they're all professionals, but for example, Tráfico, I remember seeing a player have a quote that, we're getting ready for it like it's just another game, and for us, it's not just another game.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's what I think I was referring to as well, as a commitment, right? You want your superstar, obviously Vela, to be committed and be, I got the team on my back. But I think we saw a little bit of Carlos Vela when the team wasn't doing good. be able to be that leader. Maybe Chicho, we seen Chicho, be that leader when Vela wasn't there. So I'm very interested to see if that does happen next season. Chicho, Brian Rodriguez, that pairing up there, and see what we can do. What LAFC can do up there. Andy in the chat says sign Gio and JP, let them play a few games with Vegas if they're ready. Andy, man, my brother, he
I'm
always
ready.
killing
I'm
me.
ready. He's seen me. He's seen me play.
Which one of you guys is beating out Cal Jennings for this?
Oh, that's Geo
Look,
spot. That's Geo spot.
look, I don't. You don't need to talk. My career's been over, man. I don't talk about my career's been. It was over in college, yeah. So I don't need to talk about it. Brings back sad memories every now and then. But like anytime I could play against JP and Andy, and they can see me play, and I can play against them, and I can beat these guys. That's all I need. But look, let's talk about Jamal Blackman. We got to go down the list. Obviously, I think I don't know how many games he played. 6, 7. I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't got
Like
the
8,
stats in
yeah.
front of me. 8. Okay. Jamal Blackman came in for Tomas Romero. Third or fourth goalkeeper this year. If you include what's his name?
Ramir.
Ramir. Yeah, Ramir. Kenneth Ramir. See, so many goalkeepers. I'm losing
So far
track.
away.
So 4 goalkeepers in a year. So let
That's
me
the
ask
next
Jake.
trivia question.
Yeah.
Does LAFC
Yeah.
had more goalkeepers than Latif Blessing has played positions? Like,
Yeah.
Exactly, right. JB, let me ask you: did you see enough from Jamal Blackman this year to want to invest? Because it was only a 6-month trial or whatever with him. But did you see enough for you personally to want to bring him back next year?
Thank you, but no thank you. It just wasn't enough. We have Celso on the voices, and his stats back up Jamal way more than Romero and Pablo. But it's just more of an attitude thing if you're the goalie, especially if you're coming from Europe and you trained with Peter Cech at Chelsea and all these other great goalies and this great school of goalkeeping, and then you come over here and you just don't seem confident in goal and don't own it. Don't really yell at this back line to cover, to pinch in, to do whatever they need to do. You're the first voice of the backbone of the team. And, I just never saw him be confident and own that spot. I saw more confidence in Tomas, who was getting scored on left and right, from how shaky the defense was during that part of the season. But he still wanted to own it, and he still, instructed Murillo, instructed Fall, what to do. So to me, Jamal just didn't do enough. I think we saw enough games of his. He had an El Trafico, he had easy games, he had Seattle, he had these heavy duty games, and it just wasn't enough for me. I just don't think he's worth it. I just rather keep Romero and help him grow, or just bring somebody else. But Pablo, I think, is leaving, and just Jamal just isn't it for me.
Yeah, and another thing with Jamal, if you do keep him, you're gonna have to use a target allocation on money. So you're gonna have to. He will be a TAM player. Eric, what are your thoughts on Jamal Blackman? Would you want to keep him for next season?
No, I mean, I like to pay a lot of attention to the roster rules, and I'm just kind of a nerd like that, and the salary cap and the building of the team. And he's too expensive, and he takes up an international slot, and those international slots are going for like $500K right now. So just all of that, he doesn't look like he's an upgrade from Romero. If he's an upgrade, Romero, I believe, is on the supplemental, so he's a 0 hit to the cap, and he's 20 years old. So you have a 27-year-old versus a 20-year-old that are kind of about the same. Like, it seems like you roll with the younger one because they're going to have a higher ceiling.
Yeah, you could roll with the younger, or you could also, again, bring in another goalkeeper, which probably looks like the case for LAFC, which is unfortunate. But I did like Romero, Blackman. I think you saw, at least I saw the Rapids game. It was questionable some of the goals that he got scored on. Katie, what are your thoughts on Jamal Blackman?
I think that he's gonna be replaced. I think that he would, I think he came in, he tried. He like JP said, he's not vocal enough it doesn't seem like to me. He sketches me out watching him play a lot of the time. He's not grabbing for the ball and holding it, and he's punching it out and letting it loose and right back where it came from. So, to me, those are very scary. He also comes out a lot, and that can be real sketchy too with your defenders. So I don't know that he's the right fit for us. I think Romero is a good start, but I don't think he's ready to be our savior goalkeeper that we've been searching for the past 4 years and we haven't found yet. They're going to have to keep searching. They need to find someone that's going to lead that squad back there.
Yeah, to me, look, and if we're gonna be honest too, to Romero, like you said, he's not gonna, gonna be the golden savior. But I think to me, the bigger question is the person making the decisions on the goalkeeping, whether it's Bob, whether it's the front office. We'll talk about that. But it's 4 years and I haven't had a consistent goalkeeping, and I don't know why. It's so head scratching. To find a goalkeeper, I don't know why. Because I think in the U.S., what the U.S. is known for, at least what I growing up playing, was defenders and goalkeepers, right? You could find that. You can find that here. You can find that in the MLS. But
Right.
yeah, I think to me it's very head scratching that they can't find a goalkeeper, a consistent goalkeeper. You still got to keep playing musical chairs with that goalkeeping position, and I think to me it's not a recipe for success. You keep switching goalkeeper every 3 months or whatever was the case. So we'll see what happens with that.
Hey, Gio,
Go ahead. Yep.
this is something where your soccer knowledge might be more than mine. But, again, NFL, for example, you have your kicking coaches and your special team coaches. What's the LAFC goalkeeper coach position like? Because we seem to be going through guys. There's no real solidity, is part of it just kind of the administration on the team? Like they're not working with the guy, right? Like, what do you think about it?
Well, I think to me, if I had a guess, which I would say it's coming from up above. Whether they did not like Pablo, whether they did not like Tomas Romero, whether it's above Bob Bradley or whether it's Bob Bradley making the decisions, that doesn't have to do anything with the goalkeeping coach, in my opinion. That has to do from the people above. They may have not liked Pablo, what he was doing or whatever, and they switched to Romero, and then Romero played 18 games. I forgot how many games he played, and they didn't like that, and they wanted to switch. But to me, those decisions weren't from the coaching or what the players were doing. It was more from the people above, whether it's Bob Bradley or the front office, are like, hey, we need to switch. Because when they made the switch to Jamal Blackman, obviously, look, I know Romero is not, he's solid for a 20-year-old keeper, but he got scored on. I'm gonna be honest, right? He got scored on. He wasn't saving, but to me, it wasn't go get a goalkeeper. To me, it's like go get some center backs, go get some defenders. You know what I'm saying? Go get something, go get something, go get some defenders to limit that, right? And that to me was the head scratching part of the goalkeeping thing, because I felt like you didn't have to go and use an international spot for 6 months to figure that out. You could have done that at the start of the season. You made a mistake with Kenneth Vermeer. That didn't work out, right? You're paying him $900,000, almost $1 million, to be this goalkeeping thing, you goalkeeper, but it didn't work out. So I feel like the person making the decisions of the goalkeeping is not. Is head scratching a lot. That's what it is. It's like they're not confident, and any goalkeeper makes a certain. I think goalkeepers are like quarterbacks in the NFL.
Right.
If you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback, right? In the NFL, to use an NFL term. If you have 2 starting goalkeepers, you don't have 1 starting goalkeeper. And LAFC this year had 3 starting goalkeepers, which means they had none. And that I'm telling you, I've walked. I remember one time I was walking. I was at the start of the season. I was walking past Pablo Cisnegas. I haven't shared the story. I walked Pablo Cisnegas, and I was looking at it. I was like, hey, Pablo, like, you've been doing good. You know what I'm saying? This is the 3rd season before even Tomas Romero was a thing. It was between him and Kenneth Vermeer. I was like, man, I think you could take that number 1 spot, something along the lines like that. He's like, hey, man, thanks. But I could also tell that he didn't really feel confident, whether it was not confident himself, but confident within the organization. Goalkeepers feel that, they know when a team whether it's the ownership or the head coach doesn't really have that confidence in them. And I could tell that on Pablo, because what happened with Tyler Miller, what happened with Kenneth Vermeer, and what happened this year with Tomas Romero. And that's not me to say the Pablo Cisnegas was the number 1 guy, this whole thing. No, that's to me is like, the person or the people making these decisions don't have the confidence in their goalkeepers, and their goalkeepers are going to feel that they don't have that confidence in you, and that's the thing. It's like if you don't have a confidence in your goalkeeper or anything like that, they're going to feel that, and you keep switching them, playing like musical chairs, they're never going to gain that confidence,
Yeah.
And Pablo never got an opportunity to play the whole season. Tomas Romero didn't get an opportunity to play the whole season. Kenneth Vermeer didn't get an opportunity. Granted, those haven't worked out for LAFC, but you got to let someone play the whole season, barring injury. And I think they haven't done that. And I think that's where it's been one of the Achilles heels for LAFC these whole 4 years. Next thing I want to talk about, I want to ask you guys. I know this may make you guys happy, and I know you guys. Big
I
news
think I
came out
know.
today, but big news today. I don't know if you guys saw the news. It was all over social media. We shared it on LA Soccer Hub. Let me pull it up. You
Is it
guys
a rumor? Or...
yeah, there's new sneakers.
Samba.
They got some
Oh,
new
boy.
sneakers. Let's talk about the Samba 2.0. We had to talk about it. All right.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Zambas? Do you guys care? Does it have to do anything to do with it, or does this just make you upset? Me posting this up here.
It doesn't make me upset. It
Okay,
doesn't.
Katie, let's go with you.
I'm sorry. It doesn't do anything. Sorry. I mean, great. I mean, it's off white and it's awesome. But yeah, who cares really?
Fair enough. JP, Eric, your thoughts?
I like them. I think they're clean, but as an LAFC fan, we got a little parade around the field. We got a little light show, and then we get these shoes as a consolation to not make playoffs. So it's like, they might look nice, but they don't really feel good. I'd rather get the off whites than
Same.
these. The tongue doesn't do it for me. Makes it
No.
just look like a soccer cleat, which isn't. I mean, I think you can play in them, but you don't.
Yeah,
want
these
to
are
do
limited edition or limited to the network app. Eric, your thoughts?
Yeah, so the first Sambas they brought out, like the gold and black ones, I really, really liked. And I even think I vented on this on Twitter today. Like, I'm still salty about it that they were sold out in like 2 minutes, and then you could buy them online for $300. And so I'm just at this point, I'm kind of like, whatever. LAFC and Sambas, like, I'm emotionally exhausted with you, so I'm not gonna. I'm just jaded, whatever.
You're not getting any more of my money. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of. I can hold a grudge sometimes. Now, what can I say?
No, look, okay. Will you guys? I don't know if you guys try. Will you guys make an attempt to purchase the vehicle? I was gonna say the shoes.
No, I mean the off-white ones are nice.
Okay.
If they have, if they were at the store and I could just buy them, yes. If I have to sit online and start like tapping a button to get it, like no.
Okay. Well, I've experienced that on the sneakers app on Nike trying to get some shoes. So you don't have to go through that then, Eric, because it's terrible. Trying to do that. No, I just asked because it was news.
I think the off whites are at the store.
They're at the store at the LAFC
I think
store.
so. I think that's what the thing is. I think that's where you can get them.
Well, look, I was just curious to see if you guys buy them or there's bigger things at hand for LAFC, which it seems like. Look, let's switch things off. Let's talk about the positives, right? I know in a tough season, who wants to talk about the positives when you didn't make the playoffs, right? No one does, but I do. We got to because we got to switch it up. All right, positives for me. This is what I wrote: Chicho Rango, Brian Rodriguez, and Mabo Dufal. Those are for me. I couldn't think of anything else. The LAC fans that were cheering. I have to put you guys up there, so that's 4. But obviously talking about player wise, I may have missed maybe add Bryce Duke in there. Cifuentes at the start of the year. But that to me was Cifuentes. I definitely give it to Cifuentes start of the year. That to me were the positives, and I think to me, regardless of what potentially may happen with Carlos Vela, Chicho Rango has been a great leader. He's been a great asset to this team. If it wasn't for Chicho, I don't think LAFC would have even a chance at the playoffs going down the stretch, which they did to the final end. I also see comments of Moon. Yeah, Moon. I would add Moon too at times. A couple times, Moon he had some positive games. I know he struggled sometimes. I would definitely add Moon there. Brian Rodriguez. I was very critical of him the whole 2020 season and everything like that. But look, the man has earned my respect. I think he's earned everybody's. Which I'm gonna be honest, he probably doesn't care what I think, but he's earned everybody's respect from the fans. And it's good to see him care. It is good to see him care about this club. Like I said, post on social media and do all those things because it shows where his mind's at, right? To me, the reason why I critiqued him so much was because he came from Uruguay. He came from, I've grown up watching all these Uruguayan players my whole life. I had a Uruguayan coach, growing up back in my heyday, right? So I knew the type of quality player he should have been when he first came with the LAC, but he didn't do that. But now he's shown he's capable of doing that. I think I would still want some more goals from him, but I really like his commitment to the team. I really like what he's doing, and he's been able to turn the page around with LAFC, and he actually cares and wants to succeed with this club. With Fall, it's been amazing. What he's been able to do. Obviously he's scoring the goals. He does have to improve a little bit more on his defensive end on certain things, but I like that. But nothing about me. JP, what are some positives that you saw this season?
No, yeah. I mean, the only one I would add would be Latif Blessing, because that man always puts his
Latif
heart
Blessing, yep. I
into
would add
every
Latif Blessing.
every game. But that's the problem with a 23, 35, whatever man roster, and you can only say five people. And Brian and Chicho played half the season. It just shows you the inconsistencies this season. You have a 19-year-old center back that you also found midway through the season, who has to control the whole back line. You can't do that in an MLS contending team. Moon was great where at flashes with Vela, when then Chicho came and he just couldn't find a rhythm. They didn't play him the balls, whatever, etc. Guinella came in, really found himself at the 6th, then tears his MCL. It's not official, but you don't have a brace if you don't really have a tear. Duke plays 3 great games and then Bob decides to bench him. So it's all these good flashes when half the team is good, but the other half is bad, and then the other half starts playing good, and then the other half starts playing bad, and that's why this team just never gelled. This team just never meshed, and B-Rod, is more into it with himself. He really had a whole life shift, his whole life's 360 shift, his attitude, everything, and you see it on the pitch. Him and Palacios were the only one that tried the last game of the season. Him and Palacios were the only ones that showed heart and did everything. So I want B-Rod to. If Vela hypothetically doesn't stay, you build a team around B-Rod and Chicho. But Chicho played half the season and was already in the race for Golden Boot. Just showed his impact. Was that on JT finding him late? Could he not come in earlier? That's another thing. But if you can only highlight really 5 players, if anything, this season, it just shows how bad and inconsistent we were.
Fair point, Eric. What were some positives that you saw this season?
I mean, Mamadou Fall, definitely. He was a guy when he came in and take a step back. One of the biggest positive I think this year is the Las Vegas Lights partnership. And I think what this will allow us to do and create a pipeline for us to, again, every MLS team needs to have your zero cap guys that fill in the slots for your high paid guys. And I think Vegas Lights has a chance to do that. Mamadou Fall came to us via necessity because of injury. And, I maintain that if we would have had no injuries, he would have stayed in Vegas the entire year and kept developing. He wasn't really ready for MLS, but he stepped up. He stepped up and really, really handled it. And the speed and the level of aggression he has is very refreshing because he plays with toughness that a lot of our veterans don't play with. I mean, he hits people hard. That last was it Denver or else Vancouver? He went on an offensive run and he just plowed a defender and he took him out. He saw him coming at him and he hit the defender first. And you just don't see that out of a lot of guys. So that was one of the great things. Rodriguez obviously is another one. He did a 180. You guys pretty much covered all of it. The one thing I wanted to point out that really made me say, wow, is the first 4 games he was back. 3 out of those 4, he came and made a tackle on the back line. And in all of our years, I never see any of our wings come all the way back to the back line and make a tackle, on an exposed wing of an exposed defender. And that to me tells me that I wanted to see them build around him next year. And I think, if I was going to pick MVP next year, I think he's going to have a shot at it. And he's really going to take the league by storm next year, I think.
Yeah, no, I definitely do see Rodriguez having a successful season next year. Katie, what were some of the positives you saw this season?
I think about them in little bursts because we had a couple good games and then all of a sudden we'd go down again. But then we had That one game, I'm just going to talk about it, the SKC game, where we were missing like 14 players, okay? And then we threw in like the kitchen sink and, you know, like the hammer, right? And these little kids came on and they kicked their ass. And like, to me, that was such a bright spot. You saw these youth come in who were like, I'm going to do something this game and I'm going to work so hard. And they killed them. And it was the most beautiful, fun thing to watch. So that was a really big, bright spot to me. You got to see the youth come in and do their thing and prove, you know what, I don't need a DP player on the field and I'm going to win the second place team. You know, so that was really great. Rodriguez, yes, came back from his jaunt where he was, and he did well. I still think he's lacking a little bit of confidence where he's going to hopefully shine next year. And yeah, Mamadou Fall was a beauty to come out and, you know, score on some headers that we needed those set pieces because we weren't having someone come in and score on those set pieces. That was adorable, by the way.
Yeah, that was a beautiful. He just got random people massaging Eric's head for those listening.
This is my wife, Maria Claudia.
Hi, hey, how you doing?
Nice
Welcome.
to meet you all.
She
I was like
teaches
a random hand just went. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. She gives me a lot of perspectives because she grew up in Brazil, and so she grew up watching soccer in Brazil.
Nice.
And she tells me the difference between Americans and Brazil and kind of the passion level. She'll be yelling at the TV, break him.
Oh yeah, Brazil, yeah. You got the whole Joga Bonito over there, man.
I grew up with soccer, right? I grew up knowing that soccer was the only option for any kind of sport. And that's like, it's only soccer. It's not other sports. And my dad is a fanatic, and I was the male son. He did the son that he didn't have. So he would drag me to the stadium since like 10, 12 years old, you know, and it's like wild. I remember when Eric took me out to a date on the LAFC game, and he showed me the tailgating, and I saw kids running, and I was like, where's the police? Like, where is the tension? Soccer games, look down and go until you get in, you know, like and this is so nice. I see like a huge industry coming along together, you know, like where you can see people like rivalry sitting, how you can talk to the players on the stadium, right? Here on the stadium, it's so accessible. You can just like go downstairs and you see the guy over there, you know. Like, it's just we need to
very different from Brazil and Mexico.
The bottom of the stairs, there's like there's a cone. Like there's not a fence, there's not a wall, there's not like a cage.
They're not checking things at players, they're not throwing things at players. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, no, but it's amazing. I love to go in the soccer game with him and see how clean and you know innocent is, you know. I'm more of a like, come on, he wears this shirt, he cannot do that, you know, like I'm kind of a passionate, but yeah, that's it. Really nice to be here, guys.
Thank you for stopping by. That was amazing. They're like, comment, is adorable allowed to be used when we are discussing football? I mean, did you see how she
have dinner ready next time too?
Did you not see Brian Rodriguez on a donkey and holding a sheep? That was adorable.
that was something. That was something. All right. That was amazing. I'm glad. Your wife, correct? Your wife.
Yeah.
Made it on here. That's awesome. We love to see that. All right. Look, we got to talk about it. Big elephant in the room. We got to talk about it. Bob Bradley, the front office. Let's go with obviously Bob Bradley. Obviously a lot's been made. He's had, this is his fourth year. Obviously it didn't go the way anybody expected. I'm pretty sure he didn't expect it to go this way. Now that the season is over, obviously those decisions need to be made. That decision needs to be made. Hey, one, whether he stays, or two, whether he goes. JP, what are your thoughts on Bob Bradley?
I mean, you, me, Andy have had this discussion. It's going to be simple. JT's going to go up to him and say, do you want to stay or do you want to go? And if Bob thinks if Bob wants to stay, he's going to stay. You know, it can be like that.
Do you know that for a fact, though? Do you know?
No, I mean, we're assuming. We assumed.
You were assuming.
I'm assuming. I'm assuming. But you know, I think he's gonna stay. The only other place I see him going to is Toronto to coach his son, which potentially could be his last, coaching job, and Michael's the end of his career, or more or less the end of his career. So yeah, I mean, I think he stays because if Vela stays, Bob's gonna want to stay and coach him. I think they have a good relationship, and I think it's just gonna be like that. Now I just think that's not the right move because it doesn't change anything. If you don't make playoffs, you keep the same DPs and you keep the same coach, then nothing changed, and it doesn't really feel like there's going to be a shock in the team, and they need to wake up in some type of way. So ultimately, Bob, I think, stays, but it's just not the right move. I think not making playoffs should have been enough to have a rebuild.
I mean that's definitely a fair point. Eric, supporter since the start. What are your thoughts on Bob Bradley? Do you want him to stay, or are you ready to move on?
I'm ready to move on. Whether he's going to stay or not. I'm pretty. Pragmatically, it's a tough call right now. I think we're going to move on from Bob. This should have already happened, and we should be doing the search. They should have brought up Cherundolo to see what he could do the second half of the season, to see if maybe he's the guy while they look for somebody else. But I mean, what we have. They're doing a quick turnaround this season, right? So they're like late February is the opening games, right? So we're pretty much like a little over 3 months away. So 3 months to get a new coach, figure out your DP situation, build a roster. It's going to be tough. But at the same time, we see we get worse every year. And what, are we going to get worse next year? Do we finish 10th or 11th? And is that what it takes? And it's like another lost season. So I don't have confidence that Bob can be a different person than he's been. I don't think he can really change. I think soccer may be starting to pass him by. And, so anyways, I hope he's not here, but I worry that he will be, and I can think of reasons why he should be, but for me personally, I think it's the wrong move, and it's time to move on. Let's win that cup and find somebody who can do it.
Look, fair enough point. Katie, what are your thoughts on Bob Bradley?
That was heartbreaking to think that we could be like going into 12th. And you know what? I don't know what Bob could have done a whole lot differently this year. And I'm just going to be honest. Like, I put a lot of thought into this. Like, he was given a patchwork quilt USL MLS thing. And yes, maybe some of his subs were off, and, maybe he should have done something else. But I don't know what another coach could have done to right this ship. Honestly, I don't think with all the injuries and no DPs playing, and we have, I just don't know that changing him is the right thing at this time. I know most people do. But I think with a roster change and a roster build and some of that, I think we can see some good things ahead with Bob. If we remove Bob, we're going to remove a lot of the coaching staff. We're going to be removing pretty much moving all the roster around, and it will be a brand new build again, starting from zero. So I don't know. Is that what everyone wants, is starting from zero, or do we want to keep, 8 people and rebuild the team? I don't know.
What would you like, though? What, like, you as a fan, you as a supporter, what would you like? There's no right or wrong answer.
I think that Bob's a great coach, and I don't think he's past his prime yet. I saw that he was willing to change his formations this year. I saw him making small changes and big changes when he thought things were going wrong. We watched him make subs in like the 7th minute one game. That was outrageous because he was pissed at how people were playing that quickly. And, so I see him making changes, but maybe it's not good enough for some people. And I understand that. But I think with a better roster, a stronger roster, I think he can do a lot of good things like he did in 2018.
Yeah, no, look, fair enough point, and I appreciate your what all you guys have to say. I guess it's time for me to share my thoughts. I'm with you on what you said. I'm with you on what you guys had to say. For me, typically in soccer, 4 years, that's a long time in soccer and football, in the football world. That's a long time. You typically, you understanding, what you can do. I do agree that it's not all Bob's fault. Unfortunately, the season, the USL players, the players he was giving it, to work with. It was not his fault. It was not his fault. Vela got injured, Janela, Eduardo Tuesta, you know. But to me, I guess the way I look at it, and he's even said this, but it is on him to make it work. Whether he was given a bad hand or whatever this year, which I think he was. I definitely think he was, but I also think it was on him to make it work and to get the best out of it. I think I remember in Atlanta, after they lost in Atlanta, I think he said he something along the lines that he couldn't. I'm just gonna paraphrase here from what I remember, that he didn't know what else to do. He didn't know what else to do. And to me, that kind of shocked me to say that, because I think we talked about it that week in the podcast, that he said that he didn't know what else to do. And sometimes it is that way. Sometimes football, it is that way. But I think, to me, what I look at is LAFC had a disappointing year, right? The buck has to stop somewhere, right? Who, right? I know I'm not looking for someone to blame, but if you keep if this is acceptable, um this, which I don't think it is. I don't think anybody's looking at the season. I don't think Bob's looking at the season. I don't think any in the front office is looking at the season like, oh yeah, this is acceptable. But I think also, what are you telling the fans? Because the fans are loud, right? The fans are loud. The fans are what make LAFC, right? You talked about it, Eric, right? That what people talk about is LAFC. But to me, whether or not, I think a drastic change has to happen. Whether it's Carlos Vela moving on, whether it is potentially Bob Bradley moving on, because to me, it's who do you held accountable, right? Are you going to held? It has to be someone's fault. You know what I'm saying? It has to be someone's fault. Now, I don't think it's 100% Bob Bradley's fault. I don't think it is, but someone has to take responsibility for what happened this season. You can't just use a pandemic this season. Unfortunately, I'm not willing to give that excuse of the pandemic this season, because Seattle's been in the playoffs every single year since the start, right? Since the start.
Colorado, they're the lowest payroll team this year, and they won the West.
Another great point. Another great point. But to me, I just don't think this is this type of season with LAFC is acceptable. But I also see that LAFC, certain decisions that were made this year, I would not be surprised if Bob Bradley is the coach next season. I wouldn't be surprised be the coach, because of what things happen, right? Whether he gets another opportunity or not, to me, the most concerning thing to me right now is what you said, Eric. The season starts in February 26th or whatever. That's the start date, right? Essentially, you have half of November, half of November, because we're November 9th, 9th, 10th tomorrow when this episode will come out. You got that. You have December, you have January, and then you're going to be playing preseason games in January and February. So whether Bob Bradley goes or stays, that should have been announced either today or by the end of this week at the latest. And if that decision is not made by the end of the week, I think the front office is making a big mistake. Because you got to let the fan. I know LAFC likes to keep everything in house and not let to know, but I think this decision has to be known to the fans as soon as possible and by the end of this week, because you only have two and a half months. And if you want to bring in players, and if you want to do this, or say you move on from Bob Bradley, you got to find the coach. You got to see which players are you keeping, which players are you letting go. There's so much that goes into it, and it's a time crunch, and it's the World Cup next year. So to me, there's so many things at hand. But I think whichever way LAFC goes, they need to make this decision as soon as possible, and they can't be playing. But to me, if I'm LAFC, like, I already know if I want to keep Bob Bradley or not, which is the shocking thing, right? Like, that they haven't announced it or anything like that. Like, if you know Bob Bradley's not going to be your coach, you should announce it. Either it should have been announced today. Typically, we see Tab Ramos from Houston. As a Houston, he got let go right before the season, or after. I think it was right before the season. But if you're keeping Bob Bradley or you're letting him go, that decision needs to be made yesterday, today. Maybe it'll come out tomorrow. I don't know. But I think that decision needs to be put out there. And if it's not, then I think the LAFC organization is falling behind, because 2022 already started yesterday for LAFC. What were you saying, Eric?
I was going to say, you'd have to assume that Bob knows what he's doing already next year, because Otherwise, they're just going to stick a manager like in limbo, whether he's going to be extended or not, and just have him like sweat on it. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, I don't know how you would get, a manager to manage their best like that, and the other thing kind of similar, not really related, but somewhat is like, we look at the scenario where let's say Bob stays, let's say they take Carlos Vela as well. We have Rodriguez, we're pretty much rolling in with the same team again. And what happens if we don't get any better with that? Like, I mean, they're going to, if people think, I think the end of this season is toxic, like I can't imagine what doing the same thing and getting the same result next year is going to lead
That
to.
would be bad.
Yeah. No, that's to me, like, I think a major
accountability.
That's what I'm saying. A major change needs to happen.
Then it's on the front office, though. That's when we need to start keying in on the front office. And then,
well, this is the first time we're all going to see how the front office moves, and because look, anywhere else other in the world, the type of season, I mean, the MLS is more forgiving than any other leagues and stuff like that. Any other league is more forgiving, and that's okay. That's fine. I understand it. But I think to me, there is coaches out there. There's definitely, look at Atlanta, right? Atlanta. Who else brought in a different coach? Vancouver. Vancouver made the playoffs.
It was like 7 teams this year, I think. That switched mid-season.
Yeah, so there is talent out there. Now I'm not going to throw out names or anything like that, but there is talent out there. There's opportunities out there. I know you wrote an article about Matias Almeida, and that ruffled some feathers with fans, which is totally fine. We're gonna voice our opinion. But there is options out there. So it's not like, to me, it's not like there isn't an option out there. And one thing I should have pointed out, the 3252 came out with a Bob Out sign that was on the big screen. I saw it on the big screen and I couldn't believe that it made it on the big screen, and I was in shock. And then I saw it later on Twitter. But yeah,
Eric made the big screen.
Eric made the big screen. Yeah, Eric's made the big
screen. Vela jersey.
Yeah. Look,
I thought you were showing us your Bruin.
Yeah, I thought you were showing us something else, but I was like,
I'm sorry.
All right, we're trying to keep it. We're kind of trying to keep it.
I gotta watch
out. But yeah, no, I think for me, I'm very interested to see how the front office handles this, because it's the first big go at it, or something like this. So, and I think I don't know, if you really want to be one of the big clubs here or one of the big teams here in LA, you have to be able to make those tough decisions. Whether it's letting go of your star player or whether it's moving on from one of the best coaches in MLS and U.S. soccer. I know these aren't easy decisions, but look, you're in LA, baby. You want to win the MLS Cup, you want to be a champion. These are the decisions you got to do. This is what you got to do, and you got to be upfront about it. If you want to succeed, fans are turning. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed. I know you guys know, but like, fans are very upset, and all this stuff that that LAFC didn't have a bad season or anything like that. To me, there's only so much more that the fans are going to be able to put up with. You guys are singing your hearts out and everything like that, but you can't have mediocre performance. You can't have no accountability, right? And that's just all I think. And I just think this is either a great opportunity for LAFC to show that, and to be, whether it's moving on from Vela, Bob Bradley, and to succeed, because changes need to happen. Whichever way they go. And if it is you bring back Carlos Vela and Bob Bradley, I mean, you got to make it work next season. You got to make it work, because if not, it's not just going to be Bob Bradley out, Carlos Vela out. It's going to be a whole list of names added to that, hashtag. JP, what were you going to say?
JT's in the hot seat right now. He has to be working. He's not going to have sleepless nights maybe until January preseason starts. But Rossi isn't bought. Like, we don't have that money in the bank. It's not a for sure thing that Fenerbahce is going to buy him, especially with the numbers that he's producing. He's not producing the way they expected. Fenerbahce fans are very iffy about him. They're not on the Rossi train. They're not hyping him up. So it's very plausible that he can come back, and we're going to have to find a spot for him or move the roster there too. We don't know what's going to happen with Atuesta, if there's an offer on the table that they want to take. Other players might want to go to Europe, like Cifuentes and Palacios, because obviously we're assuming that's what they were promised. Yeah, Atuesta, and I don't know. Atuesta just had his kid. Maybe he wants to stay another year for his family life or whatever. That's possible. But Segura's also coming back. So a lot of things are gonna have to, like, if Vela and Bob stay, fine. But JT has to move everything else around. We have to build a team around the front three. You have to build a team around the front three. Because if Chicho, B-Rod, and Vela stay, that's dangerous, and nobody's gonna want to play against that. But you also have to have a back line that's gonna be solid.
And you can't depend on USL players. That to me was
can't.
the biggest
Raheem Edwards being the answer in the last half of the season is just a guy off waivers. That's just not. It's not possible. Crisostomo, all these other players, and Galina, who like started the game and then never saw him again. Like JT needs to make better decisions and make a better roster, deep roster with experienced MLS guys, not unexperienced USL guys.
Chris in the chat says, if Bradley stays, I might have to give up my season tickets. Do you really feel that way, Chris? Do you really feel that way? That's a fair statement. I mean, if you're a season ticket holder.
The thing is, we were never able to win big games, and we still haven't been able to win big games. And I think that's the biggest problem with Bob. Even how Katie brought up a good point. There's reasons why Bob stays, because he had half a roster or whatever. Half his team was injured. That's fine, and I can get that. But you had 2 El Tráfico leads. You had to go to Minnesota and win. You had the lead, or no, you didn't have the lead in Minnesota. Oh no, we did. And then you're playing at home against Vancouver in the must-win game, and you just can't do it. And ultimately, you have to look at the coach, because if he can't muster up these guys to go all out the last 45, 15 minutes of those games, then it's on him. That's on him. Obviously he can't control who's injured or not, but you have to deal with what you have. And he just never was able to muster these big wins. We still haven't won in Carson in 5 years with him. So that's when you look at Bob and then say, okay, we peaked with you, thank you, and you just go to Toronto and go find someone else.
I'll jump on the other side of this argument as well, and one thing I'd like to point out, and this is something I maybe looked up about a month ago and kind of shared with our little Voices of Black and Gold Twitter group, is that I started looking at what who's won the Cup, the MLS Cup. There's been 25 of them, right? And only one out of those 25 coaches was a coach that was not an American coach or didn't primarily coach in the U.S., Almost every single MLS Cup winning coach is an American. The ones who are not American by nationality almost exclusively coached U.S. college, USL, and then MLS. And so Tata Martino is the only exception, And so if we're looking at like a cup win, which is what we need, it's interesting to think of, I didn't see how many, but obviously like Bruce Arena has multiple wins. Siggy Schmidt has multiple wins. Brian Schmetzer has multiple wins. So if you take those 25, you might only be looking at, 12, 13 coaches, or probably more like 15, but still, so if we're looking for a new coach, that's a whole other angle to think about it, because it's a certain style that's played here. It's a weird league, compared to a lot of other leagues, how they're ran. And so it's kind of a niche. You have to understand it to really win it. So.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I definitely feel like someone that has MLS experience, and I want to get Chris to say, he says maybe laugh aloud accountability for those listening. Yeah, no, look, I if they do decide to go another way, I do feel someone that has MLS experience. I don't think you need to go all the way to Europe or anything like that, or South America. I think MLS experience is very valuable. Katie, what would you like to see next season? Outside of Bob Bradley, Carlos Vela, and everything we talked about, what would you like to see next season?
I would like to see our midfield and forwards finish the balls that are right in front of the goal. I mean, we've lost how many points just from that? I mean, every single game, and this is a small point because there's so many points to all these games, but how many balls can you not make when it's sitting 2 feet in front of the goal and the goalie's not even there? And like it hits the pole or they shoot it 20 million times higher than I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
So those things are a big thing. I want to see the front office communicate more with people. I want to see them I don't know if that will happen. That's fine. I want to see more vets on the team. I want to see good, solid 7 individuals that make up this roster that are going to start every single game. And we need to build up our bench and have good players go in for those great players if we need to. I'd like to see the same 11 on the field for more than 2 games. I would like to see a goalie that we can count on and that isn't going to be changed out halfway through or a third way through. There's so many things that I'd like to see for this team. I just love them so much. I want everything good for them. And there's so many great people and they're good players. We just need someone to wrangle them all up, and we need to make some changes. Yeah.
No, fair point. Right here, Chris says, "What do you guys think about Murillo?" To me, he's just not good enough. He's not an elite center back in this league. Ever since Walker Zimmerman, I don't want to open that can of worms, but yeah, Murillo to me, I'm pretty sure he's a great guy. But I know he's Andy's boy, and Andy Dios, a big friend of the of the show, but Murillo is not good. He's not an elite center back in this league for all the mistakes he's had and these different things. To me, you need to get another starter or something like that. But it's just been too many mistakes. And he says, "Lay Murillo." My bad. I thought he was your boy, Andy. I thought he was your boy. JP,
I heard his team in Colombia needs a center back, captain center back. They can go back to Mario. But no, I mean, just him getting the captain's armband pissed me off a lot. That was Latif's armband. That was Latif's armband. Latif has been here since day one. Yeah. He puts his heart out every game.
Yeah.
And he caused his mistakes while being the captain. Leaders can't do that. Captain Murillo, I told you, I told the child, I was like, Captain Murillo is going to be a failed experiment. I want him out. Like you said, I mean, my starters would be Segura and Fall next season. I think Ibiaga did a better job than Murillo, and we got Ibiaga on the fly for $250K. And obviously Ibiaga wasn't Ramos or anything, but he filled in and did a way better job. More bang for your buck than Murillo has done so far. So yeah, Murillo can go back to Colombia or somewhere else. I'm okay with it. That.
Yeah, Eric or Katie, you guys like to add anything? I'm Murillo. I don't know if you, Eric.
Yeah. Murillo's not a good value. He's $400,000 a year. He does not play like a $400,000 a year center back. Ibiaga, I think we got him for $250, and I think he only gets paid $150K a year, right? Something like that.
Something like that.
So right there, I mean, you could buy, it's like 2.5 Ibiagas for a Murillo. It's way more defense right there.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting thing. Yeah, I mean, you definitely do got Eddie. Eddie, hopefully he comes back from, I believe it's a knee injury. But I'm with you, Katie. I think the front office could be a little bit more upfront about certain things. Obviously, just certain things, and I think they're also learning how to communicate. But I just don't think everything needs to be so secretive. I just don't believe that. I think you can have more of a communication with your fan base on certain things and letting things know. But if that's how LAFC wants to roll, that's how they're gonna roll. Unfortunately, and that's what I've seen from them. But look, every team is different, every organization is different. But I think this is a time to really connect with not just the 3252, which I know they have a great relationship, but not all LAFC fans are in the 3252. Yeah, they, what I'm saying? Like, I understand the 3252 is why everybody comes and experience it, but not there's not just 3,252 seats at the stadium. Right. There's how many 17,000 other seats around the stadium, and I think if you're not communicating with everybody else, you're really neglecting the rest of the fan base. And and I think they could definitely do. Chris says thank you. I think they could definitely do a better job with that, and I've said that. I'm not shy to say that. And I know with LAFC, there's there's a way that they want to do about things and stuff, and that's totally fine. But look, so you want to find out the truth, go to Twitter. You know what I'm saying? It's brutal. It's brutal, but you might not get it the way you like it, but it's brutal, but it is honest, and honestly that's why I have you guys on here. You guys may agree or disagree with me. I don't take it personal. I never do. because I can clap back too. You know, I can
Oh
have fun with
yeah,
it. You know what I'm saying? So I can definitely
we're
clap
just
back.
here to
But
keep people honest. That's it. You know.
yeah, but yeah, to me is just you have an opportunity to do it and you're missing the opportunity. I just feel like the fumble in the bag with that, and they may not care, but that's
You
just the
know,
way I see it.
yeah, and we've talked about this like one on one before. Like, as MLS is trying to grow to be a bigger sport than it is, which it deserves to be. Soccer is such a fun sport to watch. It doesn't deserve to be the fifth or the sixth most popular sport in the U.S. Absolutely not. And that's what we're all here trying to help it get bigger. And part of that is just kind of like evolving and creating more of a nice ecosystem for us fans and everything like that, and that's one thing NFL has done really well is it's created a big ecosystem. Aside from the games, there's a whole other massive industry around it, around the information, even around salaries and contracts that kind of just perpetuates interest and just helps snowball and makes it bigger. And I think MLS keeping a lot of this stuff too close to the chest really hurts the growth more than it like makes anybody seem more respectable.
Yeah, man. Trust me, I covered other leagues, and I see the big difference. But we're not there yet. But unfortunately, this is why shows like this exist. I'm not shy to have you guys on. I'm not shy to voice my opinion, and put people on like JP. And obviously, I know Katie and Eric. This is your guys' first time on here. I didn't know
Yeah.
I didn't know. I mean, I know I see you on Twitter, Eric, so I could kind of tell your perspective on certain
Yeah.
things. But Katie, I know you've been a fan of the show, so it's always great to connect to people that listen to the show, watch the
I love
show,
it.
and I'd love to have you guys back. Anything you guys like to add before we wrap things up? JP, anything you like to add?
I just want to thank you, for publicly in front of people or whatever, just want to thank you for putting me on, like you said. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you, wouldn't have the season I had if it weren't for you. So, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you publicly. Met you, met Andy, met the voices, met Eric, all these people, was able to write. Never thought I was going to write. I hate writing, but, when it comes to these things, I like it. So, obviously going to try to grow with the hub, with everything myself. So I just want to thank you publicly.
Appreciate that.
I'm done with this season.
But I start
done
crying, so I got to end the show.
I'm done with this season because it was just terrible. But
And he says,
I
"Que
mean,
lindo." He says, "How
Que
sweet."
lindo.
yeah. So I mean, preseason is in January. So what? We got a month, and before we know it, we're gonna be talking about LAFC again. So it was great, and I can't wait for the next season.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, JP. It's been great working with you, and help you along the way. Eric, any last words you'd like to say?
Yeah. The biggest bright spot for me this year has been the Voices of Black and Gold, which is
shout out
how
to
we
them.
all met. We started
Shout
doing
out to them.
our Monday show, and it
Hawaii
was kind of
Social.
it was a whole big group of us fans led by LAFC Hawaii. And, I could name 20 people right now that are on that show every week. And we've kind of became a support group for suffering LAFC fans to really talk about what we want to see, because we love the team so much and we all get frustrated and we kind of didn't have a place to vent. So we kind of started venting to each other and realized that we were all venting the same things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been such a great group to be a part of. We just talk to each other. We have different opinions and we just talk it out. If you're going to have a different opinion, stand up for it and defend it. And everybody respects everybody for that, for standing up for what they believe in. And it's been so much fun, and it's been the big bright spot of this year. Our worst year has almost been my favorite year to be a fan because of all of you here and the whole group of people.
Awesome.
It's been great, and so I can't wait for next year.
That's awesome. Well, let's hope for LAC to have another terrible year. Then I guess is that what you're saying? I'm just kidding. Obviously kidding. No, but look, I definitely appreciate Hawaii and Salsa for the job they've done with the Voices of Black and Gold. Those guys are amazing. Katie, any last words?
Just thank you. You guys have given me the most great content to just gel on every single week. I don't know what I'm going to do without you guys, actually. I am nervous about the next 2.5 months because of that. I'm like, oh, I guess I'll have to hang out with my kids. But
I gotta be a mom all of a sudden. Dang it.
But I mean, honestly, I think you guys are awesome. Thank you for having me on today. But also for LAFC, I just think that I think this year they're gonna get better. I think they're going to get stronger, and I think they're going to make the necessary changes. And I'm really looking forward to next year. And I think this has been a crap year, but I mean, it will get better. It is.
Yeah.
It's going to get better. So I guess Vince says it's a 2.0 year ahead. So we'll see how it goes, right? But thank you, Gio.
Yeah, no, look, no, thank you guys for being on. Yeah, no, I really appreciate you guys. I'm probably gonna take a couple of weeks on. I may hop on Twitter Spaces, may do something on Twitter Spaces. That way, it's easier for me to communicate with you. So I may definitely take a couple weeks off. I may not. I don't know. I'm still deciding on that. But yeah, if I get any news and information about player movements or coaching decisions, I'll definitely share that with you guys on Twitter. And definitely hop on here. So yeah, thank you to everybody in the chat, everybody that was able to be a part of the show this season. I know it was a roller coaster of a season. It was up and down. But look, I appreciate it. You know, we're building a little community here, you know, where people can come on, hop on. You know, if you'd like to be on the show, definitely DM me, send me a DM on Instagram or Twitter, and we try to make that happen. So for Katie, Eric, JP, this is Jill. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye, everybody.